What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting, head-scratching episode of Insane Disappearances. I'm back once again. Sorry for the wait, but you know how it goes, with my life and everything, with working and all that stuff. I had a lot of things going on, and in the personal department and everything. So not like personal, like like a woman or anything, but just personal stuff alone, which I've been trying to take care of, and just stuff. But anyway, y'all don't want to hear about that. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to do a local story about a young man that I found out about yesterday through my mother, about a young man who has been missing for about a week since May 24th. I wanted to switch up the gears a little bit and just kind of go into that just so you can see what be going on in other parts of the world. Now, as near as I can tell, his name, well, not so much his name, but, 24-year-old man named, 30-year-old man who's been missing for about 3 weeks, because, he disappeared on May 24th. Excuse me. His name is Freddie Seth Morgan. Now, he's from Cartersville. He has been seen on the morning, he was seen on the morning of May 24th in Emerson, Georgia. Now, according to the GBI, Morgan himself actually worked at the ZEP facility in Emerson. Now, this place called the ZEP facility is actually a company that deals in high efficiency maintenance and cleaning solutions, for commercial, industrial, institutional, and consumer in the markets. Now let me see. But yeah, that's basically what the place is. It deals in a lot of maintenance, solutions. Probably like certain chemicals that they use to clean bathrooms and stuff like that. And I got to thinking when he disappeared that maybe he was in the same situation as Timothy Cunningham. I talked about him about a month or so ago, where he worked for the CDC, and he was talking about how the stuff that they were using as far as the shots that they would give you, I can't think of her name right now, but anyway, that this stuff wasn't working, and obviously they didn't want people to know that because they're trying to make a profit off of that stuff, and he ended up disappearing. So we know that they had a lot to do with it. Now I'm thinking that maybe it's the same thing with this young man, because he just all of a sudden disappeared from the property itself. All I know is that maybe there was some cleaning solutions mixed with some type of chemicals that was bad for your skin or for your health alone, if inhaled or if it got on your skin. And maybe he was trying to put that out there, saying that this stuff was dangerous to the body. And maybe he somehow up and disappeared, by the hands of these people. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to put that information out there like as if that is what it is, but it just seems that this man just up and vanished without a trace. And, it's just strange enough that he was just gone. Nobody knows what happened to him. Now, he is described as being 5 feet 11 inches tall, with black hair and brown eyes. And as I said before, the man is 30 years old, so he's fairly young. Now, this information was posted on June 6th of 2018 at 8:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The video for what happened to him was posted on June 7th of 2018, 5:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and was updated June 7th of 2018 at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is a fairly new situation here about what happened to this young man. As a matter of fact, if you want to, I could actually play it right now just so you get a full look on the case itself and what they have to say about what happened to him. So just give me a second.
Family Dollar presents all new beauty and health.
You sure this isn't one of those fancy beauty stores?
Not at these low Family Dollar prices.
The new beauty and health aisle. More products and lower prices now at Family Dollar.
Advertising first, then we'll show what happened.
Yeah, police say 30-year-old Freddie Seth Morgan, who goes by Seth, was last seen in Emerson on the morning of Thursday, May 24th. Fox 5's Carrie Charles joins us live now from Emerson. And Carrie, the GBI is now involved in this investigation?
Yeah, that's right. The agency actually sent out an alert today. As you mentioned, tomorrow will mark 3 weeks since Seth Morgan showed up for his shift here at the ZEP facility. It's not far from his Cartersville home. I want to show you some pictures of the...
Ooh.
Family Dollar presents all new beauty and health.
You sure this isn't one of those
It actually
fancy
repeated
beauty
itself.
stores?
Not at these low
That's weird.
Family Dollar prices.
That is very
The
weird.
new
I don't know
beauty
why
and
they did
health
that.
aisle.
That's the
More
first time
products
it's
and
ever
lower
happened,
prices
so
now at Family Dollar.
hopefully they'll show it again. Oh, I guess that was it. Yeah, that was it. That was weird. You know, I guess they only have so much information on him, so it cut off right at the beginning of the actual video. That's strange. That's never happened before. But anyway, you get the gist of what happened with him. And that's all the information they have on him right now. They just know that he disappeared from that actual facility somewhere here in good old Georgia, you know, in Emerson, Georgia, as a matter of fact. And he, like they said, he actually lived in Cartersville, but he worked in Emerson. So that might have been a couple of, maybe 45 minutes away from home. Maybe, but they said it was close to his Cartersville home. So he was probably on maybe close by it, maybe a couple of miles away, or maybe just off the highway, who knows. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And I really didn't plan for a big video today because, you know, I've been so busy with, you know, my novel and everything, trying to get that, you know, taken care of and everything. But I wanted to share something with you guys first, though. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you heard about the experience that David Paulides had in a national forest with a friend of his that he was hiking with. And if you've heard him on Coast to Coast AM, he said that he was with his friend, and they said while they were in the woods hiking or walking the trails, all of a sudden everything got like dead quiet. It was like a dead silence. They couldn't hear animals. They couldn't hear the wind blowing against the trees. They couldn't even hear the trees rustling in the wind. They didn't hear no birds, no crickets, no nothing. They couldn't hear a thing. And they said that they sat across from each other, watching each other's back. And they said 20 minutes later, that's when the sound came back. The wind started blowing again, and that was it. Now, I'm going to tell you that in May, I can't remember the actual date. I think it was somewhere in the teens. I'm not sure. I have to, because I actually sent him an email about what happened to me. I went outside. It was a fairly warm night. You know, I wanted to enjoy the night air, and I went outside. And all of a sudden, it just hit me. I just happened to be looking up at the trees because they were being illuminated by the street lights, and I could see the trees rustling, but I couldn't feel the wind blowing. Now that seriously creeped me out. But at the same time, I instantly thought about what David Paulides said on Coast to Coast AM that one time, and I just happened to be looking around, and everything around me, all the houses, the street, everything looked like a movie set, like as if it was a prop placed there, for me to think that I was on a movie set getting ready to do my next scene. But everything was so still and dead quiet and very eerie. And it was possibly the creepiest moment of my entire life. I mean, I got over it, but at the same time, it made me run back in the house. That's just how creeped out I was. And normally, I don't get creeped out like that. I actually look for those type of experiences. That way I can just say that I had it. And it never really bothered me because I enjoy the unknown more than I do reality itself. Hence the fact that I have this channel talking about all this stuff. But I did have that experience. So I know exactly what David Paulides is talking about. And I got a feeling when I meditated and I talked to Gabriel, and I talked to my guardian angel. And if you haven't heard about that part, that's one of my videos on my channel, so check it out. You can check it out, you know, when I talk about these kind of things. But Gabriel told me that it is the merging of two different levels, which is the reason why it does that. Why, how, I don't know. The one thing I realized is that it is what it is. You know, there's no way to really explain it because we've never been met with that type of situation before, or we don't know the science of why the things happen. You know, but it's just something that just happens. A lot of things that we see it just happens. You know, I mean, you can't really explain it. Now, if you had the experience more times than once and you kind of study the experience and what it does when it gets to a certain point, then and only then can you describe it or explain it. But all I can say is I went outside and I'm standing outside, you know, enjoying the warm air, and I just happened to look up at the trees and realize that they were moving like as if wind was blowing against it, but there was no wind. It was just swaying for no apparent reason. And like I said, it instantly grabbed at my attention, and I thought about what David Politis said on Coast to Coast AM. So I know exactly what the man is talking about, and it is a very creepy feeling. But I was excited because I actually experienced it. And there's a lot of things that I've seen or heard about on YouTube, you know, as far as people having the experiences, like this thing about reddish orange orbs that people have seen in the sky. Okay, and lo and behold, I actually had that experience afterwards, and I literally saw a reddish orange orb hovering above the tree line while I was on the highway going somewhere. I don't know if I was going to work or I was just going out, you know, riding around or going to the store, maybe, I don't know. But I did see it, and that excited me because I had the experience that I've heard of other people having for so long. But like I said, that's another one where I had that experience, and it was very eerie, very creepy, but not to say the least that I would actually run and hide, but I did run back in the house, and I called my friend and told her what happened, you know, and she said the same thing happened to her. You know, she lives in Alabama, but yeah, she had the same experience herself, you know. So think about that. When you have an experience like that and you don't know what it is, you know, you can debunk it. You can say that you had some bad chili that day or had some rancid fish, which would cause you to hallucinate. To me, personally, I don't think there's a such thing as hallucination. What I think that is just a label that was put on the experiences that people have that they can't explain. So they've seen something they never saw before. So they instantly think, okay, they're nuts. So they were hallucinating. How they came up with the name, I don't know. The name probably has always been around. I don't know that either. But I do know that hallucinations are really just images that are being shown to you because of you actually doing what you did before. You know, something that has already happened, something that was written for you to do, and you're just catching up to it. Now, I know that may be hard for you to wrap around with your brain, but that's what I believe. Things that, like, say, let's say you have an epiphany, okay? What that really is something that you actually did before, and you're just catching up to it. You know, it's not so much you did it before, but it's something that you already had up here. You know, you already had the knowledge, but it took you unblocking a piece of false knowledge that was keeping you from knowing that you've actually had that knowledge in you the whole time. So you unblock that false knowledge that kept you from knowing this information, and it just bursts out of your brain and into your mind to where you just like, oh snap, you know, you just had this big thought that made a lot of sense. I'm just saying, if you don't really understand what something is, you know, you got to be able to think deep enough in order to understand it. You know, see, I think in 3 dimensions. I've always been that way. I've had people call me an extrovert because of the way I think. You know, I look at all sides of a situation, all sides of a thought or whatever. That's just the way my mind works. So I don't think in one direction like most people do. You know, which is the reason why a lot of people have a hard time believing information that is given to them that is actually the truth. They just don't realize it because they've never experienced anything like it before, or they've never seen anything like that before. And I get that. And like I told you before, I respect every comment that comes through my channel. Okay, and I respect people's beliefs. I respect their thoughts, no matter what. Okay, but I have my own as well. But I also have my experiences that leads me to believe that what I experience is true. Okay, now I'm pretty sure a lot of you had your own experiences, and some people may try to debunk it, or they'll try to say, okay, I'm just, having bad thoughts, or this can't be real. They choose not to believe it, even though it is. It's right there in front of your face. And and people do that. I've done it, because if you've never been taught to know that that's real, you're not gonna know. Just like with all this stuff about fake news that the government wants to put together, and put out there for people to stop searching for, what they don't want us to know. You see so much of that on YouTube and on any other social media page that by the time you actually hear something that is true, you won't believe it, because there's too much of that false information out there. There's too much of that fake news out there. There's so much of it. You get bombarded with all this stuff, so you don't have time to even grasp the idea of something like that being real. I know you people want to know that it's real, but you can't help it because of all the other stuff that you've seen. It makes you start thinking that what you just saw was fake. Just like the woman I interviewed on my channel, back in July of last year. There's plenty of people that still think that what she said or what she's talking about is fake. Some people fuss and complain about the fact that she's being interrupted by me too much. I was excited, like I told you before. It was my very first real interview of a person that actually had an experience. Well, not my very first. I talked to Catherine Van Alt too as well. She was my first. Don't want to leave her out, but still, she had an account that explained a lot of questions that people may have asked about what's happening to these people. She's the only one that I know of that had a memory of what happened, because she was supposed to have that memory. She was supposed to come back with this information for you to know that this stuff is actually happening. She's giving you details of what happened to her. But people keep saying, well, it's complete bunk, or I'm gullible. I can admit I have been in the past, but once I started to realize that this stuff is actually real, then I got rid of all that doubt. Okay, you can't tell me anything to make me think otherwise. I've had my experiences too that I at first didn't believe. Like when I saw my guardian angel for the first time, face to face, watching him come through a portal in the center of my bedroom through a light that didn't even cast light on my walls. Now, for anybody that has a scientist type mind would say, oh, that's physically impossible. That can't happen. It breaks the laws of physics. You should see what's happening out there in space. A lot of things that happen out there breaks the laws of physics, because they don't operate on the same terms of what scientists have put together to make you think that's what's happening. But all I can say is, that I've had that experience, what happened to me outside my house. You would think that it wouldn't happen anywhere but in a national park, but that's not true, obviously, because the national park is a part of the earth, and so is the place where you live. So I would think it wouldn't just happen in a place like that. It would happen anywhere. It would happen in your backyard, in your front yard. And if you don't know what's happening, you're not going to realize what's going on unless you just happen to look up and see that the trees are just moving around without any wind having to steer it in the direction that it's moving. Okay? So the minute I saw that, I was like, okay, what the hell is going on here? I was literally freaked out, because I was like, wait a minute, what? Really? And the fact that I'm looking at the houses across the street, it's like everything shifted. I knew that these were the houses in my subdivision. Oh man, that's my homegirl. Hold on one second, guys. What's going on, bud? You what? Oh. No, hey, yeah, okay, I know you be busy, you know what I'm saying? But hey, let me call you right back, because I'm actually in the middle of a video right now. I'm about to finish up in a few minutes, and I'll call you right back, okay? All right, bye. Sorry about that, guys. That was my best friend, and mother to my goddaughter. Love her to death. Anyway, so like I said, that experience that I had really opened up my eyes even more than it has been in a long time, because I had an experience once again, that someone else talked about all the time, either on YouTube or in an interview, or in an interview. Tongue tied. But anyway, yeah. So like I said, I sent him an email and told him that I actually experienced what he was talking about all that time. So I haven't heard anything else from him since then, but hopefully he'll read it, 'cause I know he's a busy man too. I mean, the man is constantly either writing a book or he's digging into all these cases with people that disappear in national parks. So at least I could say that I sent it to him. I should have maybe copied it or copy and pasted it or something like that, that way I can send it to him again just in case he didn't get it, or if he hasn't had a chance to read it yet. I'm pretty sure he gets a couple of 100,000 emails a day from people who be sending him cases and all this stuff. But yeah, it was a very creepy experience. So with that being said, if ever in your life you be outside and all of a sudden everything just got real quiet and still. Now, I know sometimes that it can happen and you really don't notice it. I've heard that when that happens in a national forest, there is a predator in the area. Because I've heard of that too. Sometimes the animals just kind of scurry away in all different directions. And sometimes they just get real quiet. So they won't cause alarm to whatever is out there that may try to feast on their life. So that's one way of looking at it. But I was in my front yard. There's no predators in my area. I live in the suburbs, and the area that I live in is not foresty. It's just got trees in the back of my house that actually pans out to another subdivision across the way in the back of my house. So I can't say that's a wooded area. That's just a line of trees that separates me and the next subdivision. So I can't really say that that's what that was. But what I do believe was that it was a shift or a merging of two different levels, ours and another one, to make it. And they were obviously very identical to the point where it didn't even look like anything changed, but I could tell that it did, because it just felt really just weird, and it literally looked like a movie set. And I remember a woman talking about this on Coast to Coast AM. She was a woman that called in to talk to David, and she said that she had an experience where she ended up in this part of the park where there was no people, and there should have been people at the time of day that she was there, but there wasn't. It was like she somehow went through some sort of dimensional bubble where everything looked the same, but it wasn't. But it was an area where there was no people. Now, see, this was early in the morning. This was like maybe 1 something in the morning when this happened, or maybe even later than that. So everybody was already asleep, and that's what made it look so dead quiet and eerie, because like I said, all the lights was off in everybody's house. There was no kids running around. There was nobody driving their cars around or coming in. Dogs weren't even barking. But I just know that that's what that was. And I can look back on that and say, wow, I actually had that experience. And I'm happy about that. I'm actually excited, because every time I hear about stuff like this and I have the same experience, I was like, wow, so this confirms that this stuff actually it does happen. Because these reddish orange orbs that they've actually recorded and put on YouTube are not fake news. Okay, it's not false knowledge. This stuff is actually happening, because when I saw it with my own eyes, I was driving, so I couldn't really record anything. I could have easily pulled over to the side of the road, but I wouldn't have been able to see it because of the height of the tree line. It would have covered up the viewpoint that I was looking at it. So yeah, that's my experience, people, and to let you know that the unknown is actually reality. That's the one thing I'm trying to get everybody to understand. And some of you are. I've read some of your comments, and you're making a lot of sense because you're starting to wake up, So just remember that the unknown is reality, okay? But once you realize that, you can't even call it the unknown, because you know that it's real. So it wouldn't be unknown. It would be known, a known reality. It's a very creepy known reality, but it's a known reality. So once you start to realize that, and you start to open your mind and wake up, unblock those points in your brain that is buried underneath all of this false knowledge. Once you break all that stuff away, everything will start to make sense. You'll start getting all these epiphanies and realize that you had that information in your mind since day one. It's always been inside of you. Okay? So go with that, my friends. Be safe, be well, and I will talk to you soon with another case as soon as I find out about one. Okay? But I gotta go. I wasn't gonna make this too long of a video because, like I said, that was a lot of small. There was some small information because it just really happened. So if there's more that comes up about him, I would repost an update video on this young man's disappearance. So without further ado, you know how I do it at the end of every video. You do, and I know you do, especially you. That's right. Anyway, aloha, mahalo, and hui ho. Peace out, brother, and peace out, wahine.